You know, we don't like to dogpile here on That Park Place, but sometimes we like to cover a dogpile. And in the case of Snow White actress Rachel Zegler, it seems that she can't get out of her own way. And the fans have responded how? By making the Snow White trailer into one of the most disliked trailers ever on YouTube. Let's talk about this massive dislike ratio here on That Park Place. We got a story, though, that we want to cover out of That Park Place, a website that you should have bookmarked. This one from a good friend, Marvin Montanero. May his name ever be glorified. Disney Snow White trailer dislike ratio sets a shocking new record.
Insane. Utterly insane.
Disney Snow White trailer has set all the wrong records. The YouTube video promoting the live-action remake of Disney's original animated classic has earned a record-setting dislike ratio in the wake of star Rachel Zegler's unhinged public meltdowns. This ratio eclipses those of the top 40 most disliked videos in YouTube history. As of the writing, viewers have given the film a staggering 727,000 dislikes compared to 28,000 likes. This thing is pretty close to getting into that million dislike range. Amazing here. In a recent video on his channel, WDW Pro broke down the trailer's like to dislike ratio, comparing it to the top 40 dislike videos in YouTube history. The trailer has a 96.29% dislike ratio, which has since increased to 96.3 in the 3 hours since that video released. Note that,
by the way,
I will 40
735,000 to 29,000 now.
Let me see if I'm able to pull this up here in the background. I have never seen a movie be so universally disliked as this Snow White trailer, and I'm usually pretty apprehensive about mocking a person specifically. I'll mock a design choice because that's depersonalized. But let's see here, 735 million is what I'm sorry, 1,000. We haven't gotten there yet. There's only 5.8 million people who have watched this here, but that is astounding right here. Do you think people are even watching the trailer at this point? Are they just showing up to dislike it and move on? Are people creating new accounts in order to do this? And I'm not encouraging anyone to go over and dislike this video right now. That is definitely not something I'm encouraging. That is against the terms of service of YouTube. So definitely not encouraging that here. But why do you think everyone dislikes this one so much?
Because the star is a wackadoodle.
I don't think it's just that, Marvin. I think it's really...
I think it does go. It goes beyond that. Yes, it definitely does. Vash, go ahead.
Oh, well, no. I think that has a lot to do with it. Don't get me wrong. And that's not to take away your point. But I mean, even we're seeing people who would, maybe we would label them pixie dusters, kind of come out and say, you know what, this just doesn't look right. I think the quality of output is just not there. Not only in terms of the acting, but also to the special effects and the color grading and so forth. It's just not really a great film to look at.
She doesn't. Yep, she doesn't look like Snow White.
Right.
The dwarves don't look like the dwarves. The dwarves don't look like anything resembling anything that exists in nature or fantasy. They just look like Shrek 1 level CGI, and it's everything about this just screams, this is not Snow White. It's supposed to be a girl who was terrified walking through the woods. The branches of the trees terrified her, and now she's with her chin up, like facing off against these spears that are leveled at her throat. Like, come on, lady.
It's dreadful. It's bad. Do you remember, Marvin? Do you remember the Chippendale Rescue Rangers movie that came out?
It was a movie.
That was fun.
Oh, sorry, the recent one. Sorry, I was getting nostalgic for the days when Jim Cummings plays Monterey.
Ah, yes. Oh, well, I was referring to the Uncanny Valley sequence. This is where I think where the dwarves would be occupied there, because it's not very good. It's kind of repulsive. I remember looking over the comments at the D23 Expo when they originally aired some of this footage here, and people at the expo who you would think were most predisposed to actually liking a film like this were repulsed by it, which really said something to me. Also, too, there's a lot writing on this film because, well, it's based off the 1937 classic that really kind of launched the company to what it is today, and certainly gave Walt Disney the finances in order to build out the Burbank studio as we know today, the animation studio, and really propel them into much greater success down the road. So this has a lot riding on it, and I think the mix of elements really is what putting this dislike ratio this high.
You're right.
When it comes down to it, and I need to clarify something here in order for all of us to be on the same page. She's not just wackadoodle; she is a wackadoodle jackwagon, as Culture and I like to say here.
Stand correct.
So you have someone who is essentially the patient zero of Hollywood needing to get their social media presence in check. This is a thing where we started out with, she probably needs a publicist because she's an awkward theater kid and she's saying things that she doesn't understand. And there are people that I know stood up for Rachel Zegler, and maybe I could be viewed as one of those people who stood up for her right at the start, saying you need a publicist very badly.
I'm sure she has one.
But the more she spoke, she has someone putting her in touch with the press. I'm not sure that she's got someone who is doing what should be done in Hollywood, which is someone who is helping her to cultivate the appropriate image here.
But I mean, do you honestly think, not to derail your point, do you honestly think that she, like the things that she said initially, like about Snow White, I feel like that was marching orders from Disney themselves. They thought that was going to be the thing that was going to sell this movie.
I think that they did because Gal Gadot or Gadot or however she pronounces her name. I think that they both said the same thing, but what I don't think they accounted for was how awkward Rachel Zegler got on that red carpet. They both said the same thing about it not being quite the same as the original and not being 1937 anymore. But Rachel, I don't think they accounted for the fact that she got on there and joked about how her male co-star might be cut out of the film entirely, or how you can take a thing about how we're going to update it for modern audiences, which is something that they thought is a good thing to say. There is a world in which you say that you're updating the story a little bit for modern audiences, in which that I can understand why someone would say that, not knowing that that is now a red flag for the story being completely destroyed and disrespected. I mean, Dumbo was technically updated for a modern audience, but what they meant by that was the first 30 minutes of that film is going to be a retelling of the previous movie. And then they are going to go into some other weird story that has nothing to do with Dumbo. You have and I don't think anyone has any interest in the last 3/4 of that film. In this case, she ended up insulting something at D23. So the place where the most people would be interested in what is in the original Snow White. I mean, masterpiece, that film. Going through and insulting a majority of that film. Snow White is a person who is pining for the prince. She wants that prince to, she gives magical consent to him come and rescue her here and give her a kiss at the end of the film, but they want to get caught up on all the modern stuff. It's boring. It's so insipid and it's pandering, and it is a CGI fest that frankly, I think we're all so tired of it, to the point where, and I made this point online, Disney, for the first time in forever, not to again continuously quote Disney here, they have actually greenlit a film that is not a franchise film, a sequel, or some kind of reboot or remake here. They have and not slated for Disney Plus at this point. This film, Becoming Houdini, Disney, Scott Sanders and Danny Strong team up for big screen spy thriller based on the master illusionist exploits. This story is basically Walt Disney Studios. This isn't a 20th Century Fox thing. This isn't going to Disney Plus. They are actually working on a film under the Walt Disney Studios banner that is not currently a franchise. They have not done that since Jerry Bruckheimer back in the National Treasure days. This is, I think there's something different going on at Disney at this point. And I wonder if Snow White could actually be teaching them their lesson here, because this thing looks like it costs $400 to $500 million. And if we parse that out. That's a little bit less than 50. No, it's a little bit less than 50 cents per dislike. So they're still earning on that tendency there. I think that Disney is learning their lesson with Snow White, and they're going to be learning it for quite some time.
It really depends on what lessons they do end up learning, because I think there are lessons to be learned. It's just, do they take the right lessons from something like this? That's my biggest concern. Oh, go ahead, Marvin.
When you look at the thing that, like the record that they've set, it is a higher dislike ratio than the top 40 most disliked videos in YouTube history. Now we're talking videos with tens of millions of dislikes, and it has a bigger ratio from likes to dislikes than the video that PewDiePie did, where he was like, everyone dislike this video and let's see if we can get 1 million dislikes.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.